The U.S. has begun accusing China of illegally subsidizing wind technology. The U.S. has asked that China enter into World Trade Organization talks to resolve the matter. The accusation is that China has spent several $100 million funding the wind technology sector, which the U.S. is claiming is distorting trade. It is true that China has set up a special fund for wind power manufacturing. U.S. wind turbine manufacturers like General Electric and United Technology are claiming that these new subsidies to the wind technology sector will make it very difficult for U.S. companies to compete in the emerging energy market that is China. U.S. Trade Representative Ron Kirk had this to say. Import substitution subsidies are particularly harmful and inherently trade distorting, which is why they are expressly prohibited under WTO rules. Whether or not these subsidies actually violate WTO rules, or if these subsidies even exist, I think whether or not they violate agreements are very, very small in comparison to the recent actions taken by the U.S., which clearly violate the WTO rules. I do not believe it necessary for me to mention any of the quantitative easing actions taken by the U.S. recently. Personally, I am of the opinion that the new drive against Chinese wind technology subsidies is probably coming from the U.S. oil sector. Right now, as is clear to everyone, China is the largest purchaser of energy. Now, if China begins to further develop its own wind technology, it will become less dependent on foreign oil. And obviously, less dependency on foreign oil means less money to the oil companies, which are predominantly American. This reduced purchasing of oil will, if it happens, would greatly cut into the profits of oil companies. Now, this is a bit alarming considering what in the past companies have done with government influence to boost the oil market. I remember probably the most recent example is placing trade restrictions on Iranian oil in the form of sanctions only 2 or 3 weeks before the new Iraqi oil came on the market. This whole complaint about subsidizing wind technology seems a little bit fishy to me, considering that it comes from the U.S. government. The U.S. government, more than any government in the world, has been the most highly resistant to alternative fuels and alternative sources of energy, not to mention the government that has the greatest history of outright denying the phenomenon that is global warming.